Hi guys, I just want to do a quick life update. I actually just quit my full-time job as an occupational therapist working in hand therapy. So last night was actually my last evening shift. And waking up this morning, I'm feeling so many emotions, good and bad. So honestly, this video is probably more therapeutic for me than anyone else. But if anyone can relate, let me know. I definitely feel happier and lighter, but I don't have a backup plan. So I don't recommend that, but join me on this journey as I figure it out. So stay tuned.
Top reasons why I decided to quit my outpatient physical therapy job and become a virtual physical therapist. Number one biggest reason was flexibility. Not having the ability to get time off when I wanted, not really having any flexibility in my schedule on the day-to-day or week-to-week. Number two is the financial cap. Felt like I couldn't make enough money to actually become financially free. Reason three, I didn't want a boss. I was sick of being told what I could and couldn't do to treat my patients. My last major reason is that I was just feeling really burnt out. Felt like I was getting beat up every day at the clinic and I just kind of couldn't keep going. If this resonates with you guys and you're looking to learn more about how to become a virtual physical therapist, feel free to drop a comment below, reach out to me directly, or click the link in my bio to set up a call.
So this is why I left my career as a physical therapist. I was a physical therapist for 5.5 years before leaving the field. I graduated in December of 2016. Have done anything from travel physical therapy to perm jobs to owning my own clinic, etc., you name it, I've done it. And I've also worked in almost every setting that you could think of. So first things first that I'm going to talk about is the low financial ceiling in which you have the opportunity to make more and more money as time goes on. So I remember my first physical therapy job, I got paid $58,000 annually. I didn't last very long at that job because I was seeing 15 patients a day, and I was getting paid the same no matter what, which meant if I saw 4 patients in a day or 15 patients in the day, I still got paid the same no matter what. For someone like me that's very financially motivated and likes incentivization in order to make more money, that didn't work out very well for me. And I also wanted to do travel physical therapy. So ended up doing travel physical therapy, which is great. That paid significantly better, but sometimes the conditions were a little bit worse. It is what it is. So did that and then eventually settled down in Seattle. There's a lot more to the story, but long story short, ended up working for a private clinic for a couple of really awesome guys. They're doing great up there in Seattle, and I was getting paid per visit. But even still, with getting paid per visit, there's only so much you can make because insurance dictates how much they're going to reimburse you per visit. Depends on the insurance that you have, that patient has. So let's say, for example, the insurance company was only reimbursing $125 per visit. Well, the clinic has to take their cut because they have overhead and bills to pay for, and then they also need to pay their owners, et cetera, and the other staff that's hourly. So they do that, okay, and then you kind of get whatever's left over, which let's say it's like $60 an hour, okay? So great, making $60 per visit, which is pretty awesome. But with that being said, if you want to make more, you need to work more. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to work any more than what I need to work, which is 40 to 50 hours a week. I want to have a life outside of that. I'm very into my fitness. I love working out. I love hiking, spending time with my family, hanging out with friends. Like, I don't want to be a workhorse for my entire life and look back when I'm 65 years old and say, wow, look at all this work I did and I didn't have any life experience whatsoever and I didn't get to do anything fun. So that's part one of why I left my career as a physical therapist. I'm in medical device sales now, so I'm going to kind of talk you through all the reasons why I left physical therapy and got into medical device sales. So follow along, part 2 coming tomorrow. We'll talk about it then.
Why would you want to leave physical therapy? This is a really common question I get. I think everybody goes into any healthcare industry thinking that they're going to be ultimately helping people, and we all have been convinced that we're not doing it for the money. No one's becoming a school teacher or a physical therapist or an occupational therapist or a nurse for the money. But we still need money. We still have to pay our bills, and it's not getting any cheaper to survive on planet Earth. It's getting more expensive, and unfortunately the pay is not going up. So On top of lack of earning potential within the industry, the amount of burnout, the lack of appreciation, the lack of growth opportunity. I tried every industry possible within the physical therapy world, and none of them had a great return on my investment. So I started searching for better things that would offer me a better return on my investment. And let me tell you what, the medical sales industry, amazing return on your investment. I can't wait to share more.
Let's talk about why I left my job as a doctor of physical therapy after 3 years of being in the field. Yes, I am a doctor. Yes, I went to a lot of school, but here we are. Disclaimer before we start, I love physical therapists. I think they do a lot for the healthcare profession. However, the field just wasn't for me. And this is me talking from personal experience. Number one reason why I left, burnout. Nobody in the healthcare field talks about burnout until they're working in the healthcare field. But when you're shadowing and doing all of that, they always talk about the positives. Nobody ever talks about burnout. Burnout is real in healthcare. For me, I just feel like I had no work-life balance. I would go to work probably like 30 minutes before to review my day. At lunch, you get an hour lunch, but you're always like doing notes. So you're not really on break. At the end of the day, you have to finish up all your notes. And sometimes that can take anywhere from 30 minutes up to an hour, hour and a half, depending on how many evals you had that day. So by the time you get home, it's time to go to bed, wake up, and do it all over again. Also in healthcare, you literally get no days off. I can typically count on one hand like how many holidays I would get off. I can also count on one hand how many PTO days you get within your first year. No sick days. All in all, you're lucky if you get like 10 days off that are paid. That's obviously within usually a first year of a company. Yes, it does build up. However, it's not as good as other professions. On top of that, taking days off is hard because you have a caseload. So you submit PTO and that PTO can get denied a lot just because other people in the office are off, or for whatever reason, they can't cover your caseload. On a personal side, I also left because I just had severe anxiety every Sunday before I would go into the work week. Side note, if you have a job and every Sunday you have extreme Sunday scaries, that's not the job for you. Find something else. Another reason, growth. Once you graduate and start working as a physical therapist, there's not a ton of promotions you can get. You're pretty much at the top. Next up is like a director role. However, I also worked a director role. It's a ton more work and you're not really compensated for that work. And lastly, let's address the elephant in the room. Doctors of physical therapy do not make doctor money. And if you make doctor money, you probably own your own business. The cost of school for physical therapy is so high, and the salary of a physical therapist is so low that they do not match out. It literally makes life unaffordable. Overall, bottom line is, like I said, it wasn't for me. That was my experience personally. I'm in a new job now. I've transitioned, and I love my job. I hope this video helps people who might be thinking of going into physical therapy, because I know when I was thinking about it, all I saw was the good things. And if you look on Instagram or whatever, all you see is the positives, and no one really tells you the other side of it. You're not only going to work with athletes.
I am leaving the physical therapy profession. For now, at least. So let me explain. I've been on TikTok for about a year and I have loved sharing everything from my clinical in Chicago to studying for boards, all of my life transitions, and then figuring out my job situations. And it just came down to it that I was the problem. And I feel like it took so long for me to realize it, but I actually have a lot of things that I am trying to unwrap and uncover. So I am leaving the profession for a little bit. After probably years and years and years of needing it, I am finally getting the help, the professional help that I am needing. So it's so weird talking about mental health because I think everyone's journey is different, but I've realized that working in the clinic and working with patients has actually exacerbated a lot of things that were already going on in my life and going on with my mental health, but the job and the repetitive nature of the position just made it 10 times harder to overcome those things. But yes, I wish that I could be on here more, but simply some days it is hard to get up and go to work, let alone come home, make videos, even make dinner. So it's been really tricky because I want to be on here more than anything. I've actually really enjoyed being able to make TikToks and Instagram videos and all of the fun stuff. But when you're hurting inside, then it feels like I'm just putting on a brave face. It doesn't feel as authentic as I wanted it to be. So I will be taking a small break. I will be popping on here whenever I can, but please ask me any questions about this because I feel like it's not talked enough about, and I almost feel ashamed of leaving the profession for a year. But after a year of only working in it, we'll see what this summer holds for me. I have no idea what I'm doing next. I don't even know what my next step is, but therapy and working on my mental health is the next thing. So thank you guys so much for being in such good support this past year. I'm hoping that I can hit the ground running, help as many people as I possibly can, because I truly do love being on here, but I got to take care of myself first instead of everyone else. So love you guys. See ya. I quit my physical therapy job and I am now a server at a restaurant, so let's talk about it. I don't care how stupid it sounds, but you need to follow your dreams, and this is why I made this decision, so hear me out on this. I wasn't going to share this part of my life on social media, but this is part of the journey, so I thought I should come on here and talk about it. Yes, I have a doctorate degree. Yes, I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and after my first year of practicing as a physical therapist, my only form of income right now is serving at a restaurant. People thought I was crazy. They did not understand why I wanted to do it, but everything happens for a reason. And the opportunities I have actually gotten from this serving job exceed my expectations tenfold. I literally went here because I wanted a job that would clear my head and be able to create a creative and open space for me to be able to figure out my next direction in life. Instead, this job has given me connections to people that own studio spaces for me to rent out if I wanted to see in-person clients on my own. It has also given me connections around the city to be able to create more of a community and create a space here. On top of that, I might actually be doing events at this bar because it's a coffee bar in the morning and I serve in the evening. So it's kind of crazy that I might be able to do something in this space as well. I just wanted to make this video for anyone that is thinking about taking a step back or doing something that's outside of the box. Again, people thought I was crazy for having a doctorate degree and wanting to go back to serving, but it's a baby step back. And not even a step back, but you're making a decision to expedite your progress towards your dream. So if anyone is thinking, especially in healthcare, especially in physical therapy, because that's who's mostly on here, if you are thinking about taking a step back or changing something, even if it's a short-term sacrifice for the greater good of your dream and for your company, I highly suggest that you do it. I have never been more confident and more clear about the future that can happen with my life. Again, follow your dreams. I don't care how stupid it sounds. Follow your dreams.
You ever wake up one day and realize that the life that you're living is not what you would have envisioned for yourself? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. So backstory, I ended up getting my master's in occupational therapy, moved down to North Carolina, worked a job for 3 years. And during those 3 years, I freaking hated my life. I'm talking driving home, crying in tears, hated my boss, hated what I was doing. I saw so many unethical things that were going on that I just felt like the worst person ever. And at the end of the day, the paycheck and the help that I was doing with the patients literally was just not worth my mental sanity, and also just like the crap that I had to put up with at my job. So after 3 years, I decided I needed a change. And I came across these videos where these girls were doing makeup tutorials and all these things. And I was like, you know what? I love makeup. Why don't I try that? And that's literally where I started. I started doing makeup tutorials. I was horrible. My lighting was horrible. Everything was horrible. And I built a following though. I think I was relatable. I was myself. And basically I did that 8 years ago. And now I'm able to work from home, and I retired myself from the medical field, and I literally could not be happier.
Okay, So stepping out of my comfort zone, making this video, I don't post very much on here. I just felt compelled to share a little bit more about my story. And the only reason I feel so strong to do so is just because I was able to connect with a bunch of people on different social media platforms that were feeling the same way I was feeling, or that made the switch that I was looking to make. And that is probably the most validation I could have ever gotten, was just seeking real life people and real life scenarios in order to get the courage to make a change in my life. So I guess my intent is to post this video and share a little bit more about my story in hopes that it finds the right audience. Maybe it finds nobody, I don't know, but if it even touches one person and I'm able to connect with one person, or if no one wants to connect with me, but at least it gives you a springboard to make a change in your life and your career, then that is my goal. So here we go. So I can make this a several part series, I'm sure, if I go like into the nitty gritty and the details of my degree and what I do and my background. But basically, in a nutshell, what this video is going to be regarding is transitioning out of direct patient care in the healthcare space into another setting or another field. So that can kind of be a broad take on it, but basically what I'm addressing is the day-to-day, like patient facing. I was an occupational therapist, an outpatient, so very rigid schedule with no flexibility. And I'm kind of speaking about like getting out of like direct patient care and just in a different field within healthcare, and I'm now in medical sales, should you say. So like I said, it took a lot of courage to make that change. I went to school for a really long time, and then kind of came to the realization that I wasn't loving what I was doing pretty early on in my career. And what I think a huge takeaway that I hope other people find peace in, I was so nervous about what people would think of me and what people would say, and I'm sure people have said things not to my face, but just in the fact that I was wanting to make a change so early on in my career after I spent so much money and time into my degree. But instead, what I felt like I was faced with was a lot of compassion and understanding from people, and people really uplifting me for having the courage to make a change, even if it was so, especially early in my career, if I recognized that I wasn't happy and it wasn't filling my cup. So, like I said, I was an occupational therapist with a very strict schedule, constantly having to meet the needs of my patients and, you know, physical, emotional, you name it, needs. And I don't think they talk about it much or enough in the healthcare space about how taxing that is on providers. And while we all need providers, this is, my intent is in no way to like steer people away from the profession. But I do think there's something to say for validating those feelings and concerns and realizations. Some people just have it in their blood and their bones to stick with a profession like that forever, or you know what I mean, until the day that they retire. But I know that there are several others out there, which I didn't know at first until I like started digging and getting on social medias, especially LinkedIn, that are starting to have inklings of like, is this my life forever? Is this all that I have to look forward to, just the mundanity of it, and the low incentive to want to work harder every day, the poor return on investment regarding how much it is to get a degree now, especially a doctorate degree in occupational or physical therapy, and how that relates to a salary. So it's kind of just crazy to think that there's so many moving parts in this space, and I'm sure in a lot of other medical spaces, but I don't want to speak on other professions that I don't have a direct relation to. So I think that it's important to let anyone know, or if anyone even sees this video, that your feelings and your concerns and just your little inklings are validated, and you should definitely listen to them. So like I'm driving a lot in this video, my first step was to basically just start networking and start like understanding if anyone so I don't make videos. If anyone else was feeling the way I was feeling, but also just making those connections about, like, tell me more about how'd you make the switch? What does it look like? Are you happy that you made the switch? I think as providers, we are personal connectors by nature, so we just need that personal connection of like, oh, you've done this, you've been through this, tell me more about it. Okay, now I feel better about it, you know? So I don't know if this is like a how-to video. I don't know where my intent is with this, but I guess I wanted to start by saying, like, if you're having those feelings or inklings, first step is to like put yourself out there and start doing your research. It really just, when I get asked how I made the switch, I say, like, it started with a choice. Like, I had to make the choice. Sorry, there's cars driving. I had to make the choice to just sit down one night and get on LinkedIn and start searching and start doing more research on what other options are out there for people with my degree. So take that first step, take that leap of faith, and then those connections will start to drive like more thoughts and more rabbit holes of like, oh, okay, I didn't even know that was a job possibility. Oh, I think I could be really good at that job. Oh, that's in my area. Oh, I value flexibility and working remote. So definitely just make that first choice and just look. Just go look. Go put yourself out there. And social media is such a powerful tool in today's world. So definitely use that to your advantage. Disclaimer, sorry I keep stopping. I just am a rambler, so I know that if I don't like gather my thoughts in between, this will be like a 15-part series. Okay, I'm still jumping around a little bit, but that's okay. So yeah, just a little quick background. When I was looking, I was met with a lot of adversity in regard to not having any sales background. I did decide, obviously, to go down like the medical sales route. There's lots of other positions out there that you don't have to be patient facing to do. So I just decided to go down the medical sales route. I thought it was something I could be good at. I enjoyed making relationships and just all things that come with like the incentive when it comes to commission and bonuses and whatnot. So that's the route I decided to go down, but I was met with a lot of adversity considering that I didn't have any sales background. So that's kind of a catch-22. I could speak a lot more about that, but for the sake of time, I won't go down that rabbit hole. But what I ended up doing was, I wouldn't say settling company-wise, but I would say settling preference-wise. I did take a job, not because like I had a strong drive for it or because I was passionate about it. I do think that there still needs to be a component of passion in what you're doing, especially in the sales world, because that will show. But I took kind of what I could get at the time just to get sales on my resume, is what I was told by a lot of mentors, is just get something on your resume, prove that you could do it not only to your next employer, but to yourself. And then the rest will fall into place. So that is exactly what I did. And within 7 months, came across another company. Again, the connections, the marketing, the staying active on social medias is key throughout this journey. And so that's what I did. And then I came across the company that I'm with now, and I have never been happier. And I truly feel like I have just found my calling and my place. I think that it's important to remember that, like, no one really truly loves to work. I think, again, I can go into more of a philosophical reasoning behind that statement, but, you know, if we all could survive without a job, I'm sure we would do it. So it's really important kind of just how big of a role your career and your job plays into your life, and you just have to be happy with what you're doing in order to be fulfilled in other aspects of your life. I truly believe that. So I still somehow made this video way too long, and I can go into depth about a lot more details, which I might in other videos, but in a nutshell, just hoping that this meets the right audience or even just touches one person. Like I said, or it could touch no one, I don't really know. But yeah, I'm always a sounding board. If this finds anyone that wants to pick my brain anymore about kind of what they're going through, I'd love to hear you out. But yeah, this is your sign that it's okay to be feeling the way you're feeling, and it's okay to make a change if it means it's better for you and your happiness. So